Shivadas, if you are still watching, very nice. Hare Krishna, we're missing you. If you're not still watching, then I'm not talking to anybody right now, so no problem. Okay. So anyhow, we're going to be doing Bhagavatam. We are at a point in the Bhagavatam where now Bhishma was consoling Yudhisthira, but now he's directing his attention to what we all should direct our attention to. The summum bonum, the absolute truth, and he confirms that it's Krishna standing before him and that he's about to leave his body. Krishna is so kind that he would come before him. Here we are, we have Bhishma Dev right here, and there's Krishna and the Pandavas caressing his arrow, the many arrows of his body, in his body, and he's laying on a bed of those arrows. So now, yes, yet despite his being equally kind to everyone, he's graciously come before me while I'm ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. This is the guarantee of a dear servant of the Lord, that he always maintains you, protects you, but he'll also fulfill your desires. If you desire the Lord, he'll arrange that eventually he can be attained. This isn't... I'll just tell you a small example of how my minuscule desires get arranged by the Lord. This morning I was thinking about Hrishi while I was chanting, and I don't know why I was thinking about Hrishi. It's not often I think about Hrishi. But I was missing Hrishi, and then I was also... Hrishi has a certain seva that he does monthly. And I was thinking, I don't think... What's that? Yes. So I didn't even know. And apparently everyone was speaking to Hrishi, but no one told me. But I was thinking about Hrishi. I'm like, should I call him or whatever? And then I come upstairs after I was chanting, and I look at my phone, and I get a message from Hrishi. And Hrishi's saying, yes, my flight got canceled and rerouted, and I'm coming to Syracuse, so I'm coming over today. And I said, oh, okay, very good. So we'll go pick him up at 11, something like this. But this is, the Lord is so kind, even if you have a small desire, just wanting to see Hrishi. He'll cancel his India ticket and reroute him to come, no problem. And, so like this. Now, what's to speak if you're a great devotee like Bhishma, and you want the Lord present at your death? Then he'll set up a circumstance where Yudhisthira can't be consoled, and not even Krishna can console him. Why? Because the only one who can console him will be Bhishma. So they had to arrange everything in such a way, ultimately for Yudhisthira and for Bhishma, especially for Bhishma. The Lord never leaves any devotee bereft. Whatever you desire, he'll arrange in due time. But he'll do so in such a way he'll have to teach you many lessons along the way. Right, Michael? Yes. So that's the arrangement. So anyhow, let's continue on. We're on text 23. So the previous verses were describing the position of Krishna as the absolute truth, the super soul within every heart. The ultimate truth of life. And here he is now in his personal form before Bhishma, and he's in ecstasy, actually. So now, repeat after me, text 23. Bhaktya vesha mano yasmin vachayan nama kirtayan tyajan kalevaram yogi muchyate kama karma bhi. Bhaktya, with devout attention. Aveshya, meditating. Mana, mind. Yasmin, in whose? Vacha, by words. Yat, Krishna. Nama, holy name. Kirtayan, by chanting. Tyajan, quitting. Kalevaram, this material body. Yogi, the devotee. Muchyate, gets release. Kama karma bhi, from fruit of activities. Translation: the personality of Godhead, who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yoga means concentration of the mind detached from all other subject matter. And actually such concentration is samadhi, or 100% engagement in the service of the Lord. And one who concentrates his attention in that matter is called a yogi. Such a yogi, devotee of the Lord, engages himself 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord, so that his whole attention is engrossed with the thoughts of the Lord in ninefold devotional service, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, praying, becoming a voluntary servant, carrying out orders, establishing a friendly relationship, or offering all that one may possess in the service of the Lord. By such practice of yoga, or linking up in the service of the Lord, one is recognized by the Lord himself, as it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, concerning the highest perfectional stage of samadhi. The Lord calls such a rare devotee the best amongst all the yogis. Such a perfect yogi is enabled by the divine grace of the Lord to concentrate his mind upon the Lord with a perfect sense of consciousness. And thus by chanting his holy name before quitting the body, the yogi is at once transferred by the internal energy of the Lord to one of the eternal planets where there is no question of material life and its concomitant factors. In material existence, a living being has to endure the material conditions of threefold miseries, life after life, according to his fruitive work. Such material life is produced by material desires only. Devotional service to the Lord does not kill the natural desires of the living being, but they are applied in the right cause of devotional service. This qualifies the desire to be transferred to the spiritual sky. General Bhishmadev is referring to a particular type of yoga called Bhakti Yoga, and he was fortunate enough to have the Lord directly in his presence before he quitted, I don't know if quitted is right, but before he quit his material body. He therefore desired that the Lord stayed before his view in the following verses. So,
I think the correct word is when he transcends his material body.
what's that?
When he transcends his material body.
Yes. But, yeah. Well, also, in order to transcend the material body, you have to quit it. Actually, it's described in the Bhagavatam later on when Bharat Maharaj, India is called Bharat, right? So he's named after Bharat Maharaj. When Bharat Maharaj gave up his kingdom and family, he gave it up like stool. Like that's the analogy. And I don't know if you guys all experienced this, but when you have to give up stool, it's like such a get out, type of experience. And that's actually kind of what giving up this material body and this material world can be like. Just to give you kind of like a graphic analogy from the Bhagavatam. So Bhishma is about to quit or transcend his material body. There's a couple of things here in this purport. Well, first, let me not be a brute and glorify the gurus. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I forgot our Bhagavatam verses. Just for the sake of time, I think we'll not make it as elaborate. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer the respectful obeisances on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasloya badrani vidhunoti suhrit satam. That one means Sri Krishna is the Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of each living entity, and the benefactor, the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desire, the devotee who's developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. Yesterday there was a really nice question about some lady, Shweta, she's a very nice devotee lady, and how she can control her senses, and in specific the tongue. Because that's the hardest sense to control. We pray that. And this is the answer right here. More hearing the message of Krishna from the bona fide source. And the bona fide source is one who has, to some extent, controlled the tongue. Or at least more than you have. And then you could attain, maybe, by their mercy, what they've attained. So anyhow, this is very difficult endeavor, but this is the answer, hearing the messages of Godhead. That's actually why we feel compelled, like a must. It's really not very financially responsible for us to go to India, even though I did get the credit card company to pay for almost a whole ticket. That's pretty cool. But anyhow, other than that, it's not very responsible for us to go to India. But to actually do this job properly, if we don't get proper guidance and we don't hear from sadhus, and if we don't actually get immersed in hearing from others who are more deeply immersed than we are, and that's it. It'll stay stagnant. We can only reach this platform, whatever whatever we've learned. So ultimately, this is how the mercy comes. So anyway, here. This is very important. Nashtaprayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishliki. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, and almost all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed in love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs established as an irrevocable fact. Jai. All right, a couple things in this purport. First, the personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. That's a lot of why we have a sadhana. Like everything that's recommended is because the inevitability is you're going to die. And when you die, it's a very disturbing thing for the consciousness. So, right now Michael's experiencing some pain because he has like a stomach issue. It's like a little stomach issue, but it's taking a toll on his consciousness. Now imagine the whole body is failing all at once. This organ's failing, that organ's failing, this is failing, and that is failing. And you're like, the body is no longer going to work anymore. The consciousness is all over the place. It's a famous devotee, I was hearing it the other day from Prabhupada. He was a king, and he was praying, Krishna, please, while my mind is focused on you, please take me now, because who knows what I will focus on when the body is leaving. So this is why we form a sadhana, because what you do in your life, when it comes down to it, and you're in a, predicament, that's what your consciousness will go to. So the ultimate predicament is you're going to die. And when you die, it's going to be an extremely stressful situation. More than you've ever experienced yet in this life. Everything failing all at once. All of your bodily attachments, all of your attachments to this world flashing before your eyes, maybe even quite literally, everything, you're about to lose it, what will your consciousness be on? That's why the one who is the sadhaka, they've trained themselves all throughout their life to focus on the transcendental destination. It's not just such an easy thing. Oh, I spent 2 months in the ashram, or, I chanted Hare Krishna. I chanted 16 rounds every day. I mean, maybe that will really help. But, what is the refinement of your mind? What will it focus on at that very crucial time? So, by chanting the holy name and meditation in the mind, this is actually, this is something that we have to learn, how to meditate on Krishna. Even like when we do deity worship, even we offer all the articles, Michael was commenting today that he heard that, offering the flower petal is as important as offering the consciousness. And that's actually the whole deity worship process. The paraphernalia, Krishna doesn't need your meager flower petals, or he doesn't need your dupe stick, or your deeps. He doesn't need dupe is like incense, and deep are lamps, right? Forgot. Maybe some people online might not know what that is. But anyhow, he doesn't need those like small things. It's actually symbolic. The dupe is representing the element of earth. The deep is the element of fire. The argyam is the element of water. Your whole conscious, he wants everything you have, including your material body. And your body is composed. Like Michael has a little fire issue in his belly right now, because he hasn't understood the deep science of how to stoke Agni, which is an Ayurvedic thing. So you can learn that. That might help this situation. So, but anyhow, we've all the elements are within us. The space, the ether, the sound, the ears are like canals of ether so that we can take in sound. The blood has so much water in it. Your body is made of all the tissue made of earth, and the stomach is generating fire and pumping electricity throughout your body, all the electricity, what is that called? The neurological system. This is all powered through fire, and then air is actually moving everything with your prana breathing. So many things are happening. So actually when you're offering all these things, that's what you're symbolically actually doing. And it's easy to forget that. It's very easy to forget that. But actually this is what the mind has to learn to do, how to actually meditate on the transcendental object, which is Krishna. So these things have to be understood. Anyhow, let's break it down a little bit more. This full absorption is called what? Yes, samadhi. That's what full absorption is. It's not just achieved just by a very strict sitting still meditative process. It can be achieved that way. There is a system definitely to achieve it that way. But actually, the gopis were much more absorbed than the yogis, much more transcendently absorbed. But they're moving around, they're crying, they're rolling on the ground, they're begging for Krishna's association. But it's a different level, different tier. But anyhow, this is our Krishna consciousness is Prabhupada saying 100% engagement in the service of the Lord. What are you actually doing? We do so many activities. I mean, even under the guise of devotional service. We're running a Bhakti Yoga ashram. I'm chanting Hare Krishna. But if the mind is just focusing on sense gratification or service to the illusory self, how much service to the Lord do you think you're doing? Not much. So what percent of samadhi do you think we achieve? Not much. So this is there's a science on how to increase and increase. So it said the ninefold processes. The ninefold processes are how to do it. What's the first? Hearing about the Lord. That is the first. What's the second? Sharing what you've heard, So remember, there's a meaning to everything that we chant. It's not just like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It is that. But at the same time, like, there should be something happening in your mind. It's not just material syllables coming out of the mouth. There's actually an intention, a meaning. It'd be nice. What else? Yes, remembering. By hearing regularly, and then by sharing, you'll remember. Actually, that's been the best process for me actually to remember anything, is like stuff I share with other people or stuff I share with you guys. And then if I do a good enough job at sharing it, then you guys share it back to me when I'm not able to like follow it. And I'm like, oh, all right. Yes, I should do like that. So, and then worshiping, we have the deity worship, the archanam process that we do, praying, becoming a voluntary servant, carrying out orders, of the devotees, trying to find our senior devotees and like carrying out their orders and helping them improve their devotional service, being an instrument of their devotional service, and then this is what ultimately attracts the Lord's mercy more than any other thing. And then establishing a friendly relationship to the Lord and His devotees. We should never not have friendly relationships with the Lord and His devotees. Actually, I just finished a book last night about the number one thing holding us back. Do you know what it is? Yes, which is part of what? Namaparad. It's aparad. It's we're making offenses to the Lord and His devotees. This is our number one problem. If you can't chant Krishna and tears are not rolling from the eyes, it's said in the Bhagavatam that the heart is actually filled with steel. It's like completely locked up. And what's it locked up with? Yeah, it's locked up with aparad. It's locked up with like an offensive mentality towards the Lord, His service, and the devotee. So give it a try. Everyone chant Krishna. Krishna. Any tears? Any tears for so if ultimately this is there. Come on down, no problem. We're just having like a little class. So unless we are able to feelingly cry by the calling of the name of the Lord and experience ecstasy, that means we're plagued by this aparad. And we have to learn, one, even maybe what our offenses are, and then two, how we can overcome them. And the best way is you actually serve the Vaishnavas. Serve the Vaishnavas and be very repentant. We have to learn what we're doing wrong and then repent. We have to be very repentant. And then act in such a way to try and it's not a better word, to please those you are offending. Because this is the process. The Lord, the famous story of Ambarish Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. You've heard of this story? You'll get to it. But Ambarish Maharaj was a great devotee, and Durvasa Muni offended him. He's used to like getting angry at people's mess-ups and then cursing them. So anyhow, he did this with Ambarish Maharaj, who was actually faultless and a pure devotee of the Lord. And ultimately, Ambarish Maharaj humbly took his insults. But then all of a sudden, the Sudarshan chakra of the Lord was following Durvasa Muni all across the universe, and he couldn't escape it. And he realized, if I stop even for a moment, it'll cut me to pieces. So he was going all over the place to Brahma, Shiva, everyone, please, 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 help me. And he finally went to Vishnu. He's like, I know, this is your weapon. You can stop me. He's like, I can't stop this weapon. And he's like, what do you mean? This is your weapon. He's like, no, the only one who can stop this is the devotee that you offended. And so he said, go to Maharaj Ambarish if you want this to stop, only by his mercy. So he went to Maharaj Ambarish, and Ambarish embraced him. He grabbed hold of his feet and begged for his mercy, and Ambarish embraced him, and then no longer he didn't want any harm to him in the first place. But the Lord does not take any insult to the devotee at all. This will destroy you more than any other thing. This is what's destroying us, actually. So the nama parads. And also, this is so important. So I just read a whole book on it. It was a very good book. It's called The Heart of Krishna. It was by Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, who's a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada. Very, very nice. So anyhow, by such practice of yoga or linking up in the service of the Lord, one is recognized by the Lord himself. He is seeing your service, even if it is filled with aparads and offenses in the beginning. He's seeing, he's noting, he's reciprocating, but he is going to also reciprocate in such a way that he's going to allow you to purify. And if you don't purify, if you just refuse a certain thing, he'll just keep giving increasing lessons that'll get harder and harder and harder and harder until you finally just decide, okay, I get it now. So you've all taken on the service. So now you have to really take to it, or Krishna will just poke you harder and harder and harder, and it might feel like stabbing and things like this, because you must purify. If you, this is going to be good for you. So anyhow, this will give us samadhi. And the one who is a devotee who actually is fully absorbed in their service is actually the best amongst all yogis. All the meditators, all the people at the Kumbh Mela, the best is one fully absorbed in the service of the Lord. Like for instance, Arjuna is a much better yogi than, let's say, Durvasa Muni, who could meditate for thousands of years. And so on. And there's tiers of devotees. So anyhow, the Bhagavatam explains all this. We talk about quitting the body, why it's so important to do our sadhana, why it's even more important to have our mind engaged in the sadhana, to have the mental process, not just mechanical. That's not the process. The mind should be doing something. Myself personally, I don't even know who Krishna is. This is like a problem that I have when I chant. I'm like, I don't even, I can't recall all of the qualities I remembered reading about and somehow imagine him. It's just it's only up to you. But what helps me actually the most and what has given me the most success is think about my service. Think about how I can be better of service. That's been the best aspect of my chanting. To think all right, what is my service? And how can I take my service to the next level? What can I do that'll be pleasing to you? Because the truth of the matter is we really don't know Krishna at all. We're so far from knowing Krishna. We we heard he's blue, he likes peacock feathers, things like that. But he's not something that you can just conjure up in your mind. So anyhow, we try to understand him more deeply, but then we think about how we can be of service. That's been something that's really helped me. So anyhow, Bhishma is referring to Bhakti Yoga here in this verse. And he's now excited because now he gets to apply the final teaching. That everything your sadhana is working up to, it will be the exam has come, death, the great exam we all have to face. Where will our consciousness be? And Bhishma is about to take this test and pass it with flying colors. So anyhow, next verse. Sadeva Devo Bhagavan Pratikshatam Kalevaram Yavadidam Hinomyaham Prasana Hasaruna Lochanolasan Mukhambujo Dhyana Patashchaturbuja Saha Hi Deva Deva, the Supreme Lord of the Lords, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Pratikshatam, may kindly wait, Kalevaram, body, Yava, as long as, Idam, this material body, Hinomi, may quit, Aham, I, Prasana, cheerful, Hasa, smiling, Aruna Lochana, eyes red like the morning sun, Ulasa, beautifully decorated, Mukha Ambuja, the lotus flower of his face, Dhyanapathaha, in the path of my meditation, Chaturbuja, the four-handed form of Narayan, the worshipful deity of Bhishmadev. So, may my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. Purport. Bhishmadev knew well that Lord Krishna is the original Narayan. His worshipable deity was four-handed Narayan, but he knew that four-handed Narayan is a plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. Indirectly, he desired Lord Sri Krishna to manifest himself in his four-handed feature of Narayan. A Vaishnava is always humble in his behavior. Although it was 100% certain that Bhishmadev was approaching Vaikuntha Dham just after leaving his material body, still as a humble Vaishnava, he desired to see the beautiful face of the Lord. For after quitting the present body, he might not be in a position to see the Lord anymore. A Vaishnava is not puffed up, although the Lord guarantees his pure devotees entrance into his abode. Here Bhishmadev says, as long as I do not quit this body. This means that the great general would quit the body by his own will. He was not being forced by the laws of nature. He was so powerful that he can stay in his body as long as he desired. He got this benediction from his father. He desired that the Lord stay before him in his four-handed Narayan feature so that he might concentrate upon him and thus be entranced in that meditation. Then his mind might be sanctified with thinking of the Lord. Thus he did not mind wherever he might go. A pure devotee is never very anxious to go back to the kingdom of God. He entirely depends on the goodwill of the Lord. He is equally satisfied even if the Lord desires him to go to hell. The only desire that a pure devotee entertains is that he may always be in rapt attention with thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord. Regardless, Bhishmadev wanted this much only, that his mind be absorbed in thinking of the Lord, and that he pass away thus. That is the highest ambition of a pure devotee. So Bhishma wanted, one, he had his worshipable deity. The way that he worshipped the Lord was through the four-handed Narayan form. This is Bhishma's, you could say, Ishtadev. Prabhupada saying that he knew very well that Lord Krishna is the original Narayan. And he actually heard the Bhagavad Gita. It was spoken on the battlefield. So for all actually present to hear. That's what one of the things I read recently. So he understood Krishna's position, but ultimately he wanted to see him in his four-handed feature. And so Krishna is actually going to do just that. He'll show him this feature and let him quit his body how he likes. We're not in a rush to quit our body. We're not like, oh, I just got to go back. This world sucks. I got to go back to Godhead. No, we want to have it that our consciousness is fully absorbed in the Lord. This is the pure devotee's highest ambition. How can my consciousness become more deeply absorbed in the Lord? Actually, this world might be very healthy. It is very healthy for you to train to do that. Because all the disturbing situations, which any of you get disturbed by this world a little bit? Yes, all the disturbing situations force you to more deeply surrender unto the Lord. That's why this thing even exists in the first place. It's for our benefit. So, this is the training ground. And you guys have received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and his movement, where he's teaching you very easily how to absorb your consciousness in the Lord. There's a process, and it's not that easy, but it's not so difficult to come hear Bhagavatam, chant associate with more advanced spiritualists. Again, that's why we have to go to India, because we're about tapped out of juice. We only have so much juice. Our batteries are running low, so we need a charge. So we're going to go to India and hope and associate with the sadhus that we know of, and see if we can get a recharge. So anyhow, this is very nice. Let's read one last one. Text 25. Sutu vacha yudhishthirasthara karnya shayanam shadapanjare aprachad vividhan dharman rishinam chanushrinvatam. Sutu vacha, Sri Sutta Goswami said, Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthir, tat, that, akarnya, hearing, shayanam, lying down, sharapanjare, on the bed of arrows, apracha, asked, vividhan, multifarious, dharman, duties, rishinam, of the rishis, cha, and anushrinvatam, hearing after. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishma Dev speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. Bhishma Dev, speaking in that appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthir that he was very soon passing away, and Maharaj Yudhishthir was inspired by Lord Sri Krishna to ask him of the principles of religion. Lord Sri Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthir to ask Bhishma Dev in the presence of many great sages, indicating thereby that the Lord's devotee, like Bhishma Dev, although apparently living as a worldly man, is far superior to many great sages, even Vyasadeva. Another point is that Bhishma Dev at that time was not only lying on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time. But Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind, by dint or by means of spiritual enlightenment. And thus in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. Yudhishthira also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhishma Dev rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhishma. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotee. The Father likes to see the Son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. So remember what we were talking about in yesterday's class from the Vishnu Purana? Now this is being confirmed here. We're not trying to be devotees of the Lord directly. We're trying to be the devotees of the Lord's devotee, because they'll actually give us the Lord. They're connected. So it's seen right here, Maharaj Yudhishthir, not even Krishna could console him. But who will console him? Krishna's devotee, and that's Bhishma. Another aspect here is maybe Bhishma was trying to pass away. He just talked about, now Lord, show me this form of you so I can leave my body. But now all of a sudden a service opportunity came. Okay, let me do my service. So we're not anxious to, I got to get out of material misery, I got to get out of this, that, and the other. It's all about, how can I be of service? Because that's what's pleasing to the Lord, and He'll arrange the next things you need. How can I be of service? This is what we should constantly ask ourselves. Even when we're chanting and we don't exactly know who Krishna and Radha are, maybe we heard some stories, maybe we heard something or the other, but we really don't have a very deep connection. But how can I be of service? What can I practically do to be of service? We can think about these things. And ultimately, the best way to serve is to serve ultimately the representative. And that's what a guru is. A guru is the representative of Krishna. And we hopefully have done the research and realized that this person realizes Krishna. This person has an intimate relationship with Krishna that I would like to have one day. So by serving that person, you please Krishna, because that's Krishna's servant. So just like I'm going to have a baby, and my baby will be very cute. And if you guys are, you guys can be flattering to me, but you're mean to my baby, I don't like you. But if you're really nice to the baby and you're like, all right, and you're nice too, and you're not disrespectful to me, I'll say, no, he was very nice to my baby, I like him, So similarly, if you're very nice to Krishna's devotee and you serve the devotee and and find a guru who you can feel very passionate and enthusiastic about serving, because you do feel they're so deeply connected to Krishna, then this will please Krishna, surely. It's like not quite like his baby, but they're very dear to him. Or if someone is nice to my wife in an appropriate manner, like if some man is trying to be extra nice to my wife, then I actually don't like it so much. But if someone is nice to my wife or treats her with dignity and respect and all these things, then naturally I like them. So whatever, we should find somebody who has an intimate relationship with the Lord and serve them. And so now Bhishma is doing both. Yudhishthir, Krishna wants Bhishma to serve everyone there by giving them the teachings that Bhishma had acquired his whole life before he leaves. And then also, and console Yudhishthir, and also Bhishma wants to serve. He's like, oh, this will please Krishna, so let me do. So anyhow, I hope you guys find your service. Yes, Michael.
Speaking of worshipping the Lord's devotees, today is Lochan Das Thakur.
Oh, that's good that you told me. So Lochan Das Thakur, he's written a very nice scripture, a composition of many songs, and it's called the Chaitanya Mangala. And it was so nice that the original Chaitanya Mangala, which was the Chaitanya Bhagavatam by Vrindavan Das Thakur, it was so nice, they said, you can have the name Chaitanya Mangala, I'll change my name to Chaitanya Bhagavatam. And so this Chaitanya Bhagavatam is very nice as well. So this, he's a very powerful, you could say, kavi, poet. He actually shares a lot of confidential pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu you're not going to find in even Chaitanya Charitamrita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and Chaitanya Bhagavat, which are give most of the pastimes. So there's some confidential pastimes there. So if you ever get a chance to read Chaitanya Mangala, it's very nice. So Lochan Das Thakur ki
Jai.
Jai. So okay, 9:06. You guys go.
Is the BNB given today, Prabhu?
What BNB? I have to check.
The ladies, I think, didn't went. So the guys for 3 days.
Yeah, then if she went,
I think she just.
I have to check. But
No worries.
if you know he's for 3 days, then no problem. Yes, you're good, Parth? Okay. All right. Have a nice, wonderful day. I hope you find some nice service, and you train yourself nicely, or you take your